All right. Well, here we are. We have finished season one of the Books, Beards, Booze podcast, and what a wild ride it was. But before we dive into season two, Derek and I felt like maybe it'd be a good time to let's do a recap, kind of talk about what we liked, what we loved, that sort of thing. And I mean, let's not fuck around. Let's just dive straight into it. And so I
And
came up
talk
with a
about
list
what
of.
we're drinking. Yeah, you're right,
Oh,
100%. We should
oh
definitely just
yeah.
talk about what we're drinking. That's all we should talk about. Because I've been waiting all day to drink this.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. My bad. Yeah, I forgot. I'm sipping on Larceny. I went by the liquor store and picked up a bottle of the Clyde Mays Alabama,
Hmm.
but I haven't tried it yet. I'm waiting to try it on next week's
Same here.
podcast.
I bought some as well, but I also
Yeah,
bought this bottle of Woodford Reserve that
it's
I'm
good
drinking.
stuff.
I'm liking it so far, and I bought this huge bottle of water because the last time I was drinking whiskey, the whiskey I bought last weekend, uh, I I didn't. I ran out of water, and I've discovered recently that I like putting like just a little bit of water in my drinks instead of anything else as a mixer.
Yeah.
And I tried like just doing a little splash of like faucet water, and it's just not as palatable.
Yeah. I can see
So
that.
so yeah,
Well,
I was
Larceny's good. I found out that Crew, uh, local bar, they have Rittenhouse, which is a rye that Heaven Hill also makes, and I was excited to find that. Last night I was out, or not last night, but last time I was out there, had a bunch of that. But today it's Larceny, another Heaven Hill product, because I do love me some Heaven Hill.
I was doing some research on what exactly the difference is between moonshine and corn whiskey, and they specifically mentioned that Heaven Hill has a corn whiskey, and I was like, I bet you Bob's had that.
Yeah, probably. I'm trying to have them all. Yeah, so I'm going to be sipping on Larceny, and looking forward to next week when we get to try this Alabama blend whiskey or
Mm-hmm.
Alabama style whiskey. Uh, so, all right, starting it out, this is going to be an easy one. Derek, what was your favorite story that we tackled? We're not going to go through and list all the stories. We did 14 stories and 14 buck battles. We're not going to list them all, but we will talk about the highlights. So, what was your favorite?
Okay, so I pulled a Bob on this and like made a ranking, but
Okay.
there is a clear victor, and it's A Tiny Feast. A Tiny Feast is
Okay.
the best thing, in my opinion, that we read over the course of the entire show. Uh, However, second is First Lives Club, which I very much
Oh,
enjoyed. I enjoyed that a lot, and the only I I tried not to pick one of the stories that I picked for my top for any of my top three, but I just really like a story of an hour. It's just one of my
okay.
favorite little short stories that made me realize I don't hate short stories.
Yeah.
So
A story of an hour would not have made my top half. It would not have made my top seven. But
that plays into one of my answers later on. So
yeah, a tiny feast would easily be my number two. Uh, and First Life Club was really good, but my favorite was What You Pawn I Will Redeem, the Sherman Alexie story.
hmm
I don't know, man. I just loved that story. It's quirky, it's weird, and I don't know. It spoke to me. It spoke to me on a real level.
just because that guy sounds like somebody that you would hang out with.
Yeah, that's true. And like probably like signs and symbols would also be on up there, as would the truth is a cave in the Black Mountains.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't like Signs and Symbols that much as a story, but the conversation on it afterwards was fun,
yeah,
even though I was just like, I'm not buying it.
the Rats in the Walls is one of my all-time favorite short stories, but I just didn't feel like it wouldn't be fair to pick that because I mean that's the story that got me into Lovecraft, and for fuck's sake, I have the Elder Sign tattooed on me. So
Yeah, I was about to
uh,
say that's kind of why I stayed away from the ones that I suggested. What You Pawn I Will Redeem, Story of an Hour, and A Good Man Is Hard to Find. I like all
yeah,
those. It's the reason I fucking picked them. But
yeah, right,
I like Kate Chopin, and that was the only Kate Chopin that we had read. So I was like, yeah, we're gonna
okay,
put it on there.
cool. So what was your least favorite story? I got a feeling we're gonna pick the same one.
I don't know. I don't know. I was considering tweaking you on this, but I went with a flawless silence.
Yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah,
Yi Yun Lee, Flawless Silence. I hear she's amazing. This story
was not.
it was not. And everyone who's read it that's talked to me about it, they've all been of the same mind. Like, uh. And I get like, there's a good story in there. She just cluttered it up
Missed it.
with,
Kind of
yeah,
missed the boat.
miss miss the mark. So
Not you don't get a home run every go round. So what are you
no,
gonna
no,
do?
no, no, you don't. What would be? Do you have a like a number two on
Uh,
that? I'm tempted to say, although I did really like, I liked the conversation about the story,
yeah,
but the ones who walk away from Omloss, it was
yeah.
just like as stories go, it's not
Really a
really a
story.
story,
Yeah,
so it loses points for me for that.
yeah.
Uh, but I mean, the rest of them were all pretty good. Catskin was really weird. The Kelly
Cat
Link story.
Catskin is probably the one I'm still the most torn on. It's like I
It's
feel
a
like
weird fucking story.
it had some really cool stuff that I really enjoyed, and then it had some stuff that I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah,
And then some of it, and then it was also just looking at it from the standpoint of, uh, I don't actively feel like I enjoyed reading it as I was reading it, but then after I've read it and I'm thinking about it, I enjoyed a lot more. If that makes
yeah.
sense.
No, it does. It wasn't an easy read
No.
by any stretch of the imagination. So, yeah, it was. But overall, it was a good season. Good
I thought it
season.
was a nice and solid
Yeah.
selection, pretty much all the way through. There's only a couple of them that I was just like, ugh.
So, what was your favorite bonus episode? We had four, or technically we had five. We had my birthday bash, the two BuzzFeed articles, the Italian read along, and the Clinton questions.
The Italian read along conclusion was probably my favorite, but
Okay.
I actually I had forgotten about the Clinton questions, and I liked that one a lot too. But the Italian
Yeah.
read along conclusion was my favorite.
My favorite was definitely the Bob's birthday
I knew
one.
it would be.
Yeah, Superfan Tanya came in and asked like she just made up a list of for if you haven't listened, she made up a bunch of questions to ask us and she judged our answer and made us do shots.
That,
Uh, like
I
a
still feel
game.
like that was not appropriate. I feel like I was cheated, and it was. Oh, I should have actually known that was going to happen. But it did. We were. I was pretty well off by the time that party started, though.
Oh yeah, we it was a good night.
You were not
it
wrong.
it was fun though. I really enjoyed that and definitely want to do another one of those
Oh
at
yeah.
some point.
I
Uh,
like that. We need to do that and like have other people come on and
yeah,
ask us questions too. Like
yeah.
what did I decide? What was it? Southern correspondent Shay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he
yes.
definitely needs to do that.
Since we're now doing this slightly different recording method, we might be able to get uh, New Zealand brand ambassador Ryan to remote in and
There you go.
and do
That's
some
what I'm talking
questions.
about.
Uh, so that'll be fun. Um, what was your favorite episode? Like main ep-
This was actually probably I think this was the question I had to like kind of stare at the longest and I couldn't really think of an answer for. But
uh,
I ended up coming to the conclusion of my favorite episode was the rats in the walls.
okay.
Because I remember us sitting there talking a lot about the story itself, about the genre that came out of it,
Yeah.
about Lovecraft as a person. There was a lot of interesting stuff to talk about in that episode,
Yeah.
so I really liked that one.
And that is on my list of things to do going forward. Is I want to do a bonus episode, probably where we do just 30 minutes on Lovecraft, and we'll see how soon that happens. But it's definitely something I want to do. For me, it was probably the signs and symbols episode because I went off the deep end on that
Yeah, you did.
story, and it was awesome. It was great. Uh, my my runner up to that though was the man's best friend episode. It was so
Die in
silly
a
and
fire.
ridiculous. It was
Just,
so ridiculous. I loved it.
I hate you so much for that. It doesn't even
Oh,
make sense, Bob. It doesn't make sense.
it makes perfect sense.
The way I did
Uh,
it, yes. The way you did it, no.
no, no, Derek, you're just wrong on that one.
Oh my god.
That dovetails nicely into what was your favorite book battle question?
Cover book.
That was my runner up. That was
That was my favorite. Just because the different ways you can come at that question, and the
yeah.
more you start thinking about it, it just takes you down a rabbit hole.
If you haven't listened yet, the question was if books, like the way that bands cover songs, imagine authors covering books. What book would you want to read by what author? And that was fun. It took a lot of thought, but it was fun.
And you can just come at it from so many different directions, like
Oh
trying to
yeah,
strengthen a weakness of a book, or trying to get somebody who drastically writes a different style of thing to see them kind of take a story idea and completely dump it on its head and see what they would
yeah.
do with it or something like that. But yeah, I
Oh
love
yeah.
that shit.
Uh, for me, it was again the man's best friend book
Of
battle.
course it
I
was.
loved it. I loved it. But my third place was where the epic debate over subgenre.
Of
What was the
course.
best subgenre of fantasy?
That's just because that was probably the drunkest I've ever been. I don't know about you, but that's probably the drunkest I've ever been on this show. But
Yeah. Um. All right. So, which author would you most like us to do another story from?
this was kind of a tie between Lovecraft and King.
Okay.
I
Well, I can guarantee you we will do more by Lovecraft.
mhm.
I'm probably going to hold off on that though till like October. Do some Halloweeny kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
I guess that's fine, but as long as we do more, Lovecraft is an interesting thing because you like Lovecraft so much, and I find the idea of the Elder Gods interesting, but I'm not sure how much of that comes out in the stories or how much of it is the mythos that
Well,
exists outside of the stories.
yeah.
I don't know which
Well,
one.
we can also do some of his success. I mean, we don't have to do just Lovecraft. We can do Clark Ashton Smith or Brian Lumley or any of these people that kind of came after him that write in the mythos.
Oh, see, I don't know
That's
any of that
that.
stuff, but
Yeah, that's also an option.
I was gonna
Uh,
say King is just really good, and I was
yeah, he's
surprised.
he's an amazing short
Which
story writer, and
it's super
I'm sure we'll
annoying.
do more by him. But
Yeah, it was just super annoying because he's one of those people that I've just never read, even though I know he's good. And I remember trying to read him when I was younger and going, "This isn't good." And then I tried it again. I was like, "What the hell was I thinking?" I was like literally reading the same exact book, and I was like, "The
yeah,
hell was I thinking? Like I don't even understand this. What the fuck was I looking
just
at?"
pick up one of his short story collections. I've got
Yeah,
three or four
you
of
were
them. I'll let you
supposed to give
borrow.
me one at some point, but
Yeah.
anyways,
For me, it's Yi Yun Lee.
you got to give it a
Uh,
second try. Got to find,
yeah, like
yeah.
I want to hear what all the fuss is about because I'm not seeing it with this one, but I'm going to trust the internet.
Oh, that
And
people talk highly of.
yeah, everyone's like, she's amazing. Like, because I went and read a bunch of comments on this, and there was a bunch of folks who were like, this story is trash. What the fuck? She is so good. What happened here?
Oh, okay. Then I
So
definitely want to try it again.
yeah, my number two on that is Chris Adrian. A Tiny Feast was
Yes,
so good that I would like to see what else he's got going on.
I would as well.
Um, all right, so here's kind of a more meta question. What do you think we got right?
Just so you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and answer this one and the next one all at once because
Okay,
what we
because
got
the next
right,
question is, what do you think we got wrong?
yeah, because what we got right were my opinions and what we got wrong were your opinions.
Oh, you motherfuckers.
But legitimately, that's all I wrote down. But let me think while you answer the question.
Okay. Well, here's what. All right. So what we got right, and like I like to think there were lots of things that we got right, but the one thing I wanted to focus on was completely unintentional, but I'm glad we did it. One of the bigger issues going on in fantasy right now is the issue of being inclusive and diverse, and it's basically, I mean, your humble host here are two white guys, and fantasy has been dominated by white guys like for pretty since it started. I mean, literally since it started, and it's not been a good thing. Like that's not to take away from the quality of the writers that they were, but other voices suffered at their expense, and it was completely unintentional. But of the 14 stories, half of them were by women, minorities, or sometimes both simultaneously.
Really?
So yeah, I
Well, I
was
mean,
really
we just picked
I was
good
stoked with that.
stories. I mean,
Yeah, well that's
that's
the thing. But uh, but also going forward, that's something that I'm like I kind of realized that when I typed up what all stories did in a big long list, and I was like, oh wow, okay. And I'd read some stuff on Reddit, just that kind of had it on my mind, and so it's something that like unintentionally worked out well. But going forward, I'm going to make sure that we keep that going. Like if you've seen already, the I had actually picked this story before I had this realization, but the first story we're doing is N.K. Jemisin, and she is a woman, and she's African American, and she's fucking shit hot. And I started reading the fifth season, which is her book that won a Hugo. I started reading it today, and so far it's real good.
read some news
Uh,
about her today too.
oh, um, as for what we got wrong, besides literally every opportunity for pronunciation,
Yeah,
um,
that's all of the things.
yeah, it was basically the audio quality. I think is our biggest hurdle.
Well, we're still going to be
Uh,
working on it now, but we're
yeah,
taking a
hopefully,
more active approach towards it now. Now that we kind of,
yeah, hopefully, when we listen back to this very episode, because it's the first one we're recording with a new method, it's going to sound fan fucking tastic.
and if not,
But
then we'll, like you said, we'll keep working on it.
yeah, we'll,
So,
we'll we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Did you think up anything
uh,
to add?
mostly just that. Uh,
Oh, I had one more.
oh, go ahead.
I had one more thing that I didn't write down, but I thought about it today. Another thing that, like, all right, besides giving voices to, you know, to, you know, to the full spectrum of humanity, uh, one thing that I kind of regret in season one is that every story that we did is by someone who's big name, or at least like published by a major publisher. And I mean, really, like every name on this list, pretty much, me or you had heard of, uh, except for like Kelly Link
Yeah,
and Yi Yun Lee. But I mean, they're both, you
they're
know,
out there. We just didn't
yeah.
know.
So I kind of regret, and something that we're going to do going forward is definitely want to open this up to people who, indie publishers, like small presses, stuff like that. Like it's not like I want to give a voice to people who aren't necessarily big dogs. Like it doesn't matter if Tor published your last novel or not. I don't care about that. I just care if it's a good story. So I'm going to actively going forward try to find the occasional story, um, the like in of an more indie player or like a self-published kind of person. So I do regret us not doing that in season one, but it's something we will fix going forward.
My concern with that was only that it be good, but maybe that I shouldn't be concerned with that. Maybe I should just be concerned with reading a story and then being honest about what I think of it. Because, I mean, if it's bad, I'm going to say it's bad,
Right.
and
Yeah, I
maybe
mean that's the
that's
thing. I'm like we'd be open to submissions, but just because you submit doesn't mean we're going to do it. Like if we read your
and even
story
if we
and
do
it's
it, doesn't mean that I'm not going to shred you.
right, well,
Because,
I'm not going to have any story on here that's not
yeah,
good. Like
except for that Gaiman one.
shut the fuck up. A flawless silence. Like I didn't like it, but it wasn't like craft wise. There wasn't really like it was well written. I think she just made some poor choices on that. Like the whole focus on the election was basically that's what ruined that story,
Yeah.
not her craft. So like
Well,
I might not. And I realize that is part of the craft,
okay.
but like I mean, like the
I-
pro, the pro.
yeah,
There's
the
no problem
pros,
with
there
the
you go.
prose.
Yeah,
there was a problem
I
with
didn't have
plotting.
any problem. Actually, if I remember correctly, I liked the prose.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like you can submit a story. I mean, pretty much most of these. I mean, there were a few that we both liked, but by and large, we like typically we look at different things. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of us not necessarily agreeing that they were good. Um, but like, yeah, we're definitely going to open it up to.
Except for a tiny feast, which was just the best.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean there were a few that we both
Yeah,
liked. A Tiny Feast, we both liked First Lives Club. We both liked The Rats in the Walls. We both like What You Pawn I Will Redeem.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, the rest of them there was some disagreement. Uh, but yeah, no, it's so we're gonna as I say in the music scene, we're gonna open up this pit and try and get a try and get a lot of voices in here. Uh, so what? So the final question is: when was Bob slash Derek the most wrong? The idea being that I say when Derek was the most wrong, and he says when I was the most wrong.
Okay. Well, you were the most wrong when you talked. And then I actually wrote down Bob when he talked, Derek impossible.
Shit.
No, but let's see. Realistically, um, I don't know, man. I understand the fun of the symbols and signs.
Yeah.
I don't think I see it. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're wrong, but that's not when you were most wrong. My first gut reaction was the subgenre episode because that was our most heated debate. But as I thought about it, I was like, that is just purely objective kind of deal. Like that, we disagreed, but that you weren't necessarily wrong. I think you were most wrong on the truth is a cave in the Black Mountains. Like that is a legitimately good story, and I think you just don't like Gaiman. And I think your hatred for that man has blinded you to the goodness of that story.
I mean, of us, I like Gaiman more than you do when it comes to his novels. So I don't.
No,
You didn't
no,
even. You
I don't
didn't.
like I don't like American Gods, but I like the rest.
Yeah. Well, I liked American Gods.
Yeah, but I've read three others. I wasn't big on Good Omens, but come to find out, he didn't really write Good Omens. Terry Pratchett. I mean, they both their names on there, but Terry Pratchett wrote 70% of Good Omens. Um, but Stardust is good, and Neverwhere is good, uh, and Sandman is fucking incredible. It's one of the best comics ever made.
Hmm.
But I just the truth is a cave in the Black Mountains is I think where I think if you would go back and give that a good deep read, I think you would get more of an appreciation for it. Now that we've had a long like go back, listen to the podcast where we chat about it, and go give it another reread. I think you'll get a new appreciation for it. So that's where I think you were most wrong. Other than literally every other moment of the show.
You were most wrong with the best friend, the man's best friend thing. I mean,
Oh, that was amazing.
Literally
That
the
was
most
amazing.
wrong.
If I could, the moment I can think up some other fucking ridiculous thing like that,
I
bet
need
your ass I'm going to
consistency.
do it.
I just need consistency, and there was no consistency in that. It was like for this question, I mean this question in this way. However, for this time, I
But
mean
no,
it in
see,
this
here's the
way.
thing. I've had time to think about your complaint, and here's my take on that. You were viewing it as dogs provide X to humans. All right. And that is what humans want out of dogs. They want X. You know, that unwavering adoration, that love, that bond. But what other races would look for in a pet is not going to be the same thing that humans look for in a pet. So, like a dwarf, he doesn't want that unwavering bond of loyalty because he gets that from every member of his family. They're dwarves, they're super loyal to each other, clan before everything. Now, what he needs is some rough and tumble badger that he can get silly and ridiculous with because he's not allowed to do that with his buddies, you know? Like he's dwarf. He's got to be all honorable and stodgy and grumpy. But with his badger, he can cut loose and go get drunk. So, like, that's why it was different for everyone. Like, it
Then
wasn't.
what was your argument for having elves be a stork in that context?
Uh, because I don't really like elves, and I'm not real big on storks.
But that does see. That's my point. From in the context of the question, the way you
I
posed it
think,
for
but
dwarves, that's
I
not the
think
same
with that
question.
was elves are so aloof that a bird is what makes sense for them. Like they just want something to be pretty and make noise, and storks are the most similar in body structure to an elf. Like I just could imagine like an elf giving his little hand-me-down sweater to his favorite stork.
That's not the same. Okay, well, let's just move on. That's
Well, I mean that's pretty much it. That's the recap for season one. Uh, if you missed it, now you can all these are still going to be on the interwebs. You can find them anywhere you find podcasts, but now you can also find all of them on YouTube on the Tales by Bob channel. There's a whole channel there for the 30 episodes of season one. It's got all the bonus episodes. It's got all the book battle episodes and all the regular episodes. So any story you missed, please go back, and we'd love to hear what you think about them. Leave comments. I mean, just because it's 4 months, 3 months in the past, I'm still responding to comments and whatnot. So definitely want to hear what you have to say, and definitely let us know what you think. I especially want to know what you think we got right and what you think we got wrong when it comes to season one. Would love to hear more about that. And as always, we're always looking for book battle questions because that's the hardest part of this job. Um, Other than all the technical difficulties we have, which has become my part-time job, is trying to figure this shit out. Um, but yeah, email us booksbeardsbooze@gmail.com or find anything Tales by Bob. And if you shoot it a message, Instagram, Tumblr, the blog, the website, the Facebook, I see it and I will respond. But yeah, hope you enjoyed season one. We're so excited. Season two uh, starts on Sunday, and we got a lot of cool stuff planned, and I hope you come around to see it. As we wrap up, I challenge you to, as you take on the coming days, to go forth and grow a great beard.